to start the album. That's actually how we started. That's how it started the concert, and it was if I recall, it was almost the entire time, or the entire time it was basically just the sheet, and it was just like a projection of kind of like Arcadia, if you will, and like the logo.
Yeah.
This falls into one of those songs where there's a lot of repeating, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, with seeing them in person and stuff, and we've talked about this with like 21 Pilots and NF and stuff, where it's like, I feel like some of these songs are also made for that quote, we're going to be easy here, but worship.
That live, like
live,
perspective. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's why a big reason that for me, Sleep Token has a grasp on me is because they kind of know that they make great album music, but they also know they're making this for you to come see them.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of like that Kiss mentality where I feel like they did a lot of stuff for like to be at the show to see. So Sleep Token's kind of the same way in my opinion.
Yeah.
Even though they're not flying across stages and biting, the heads off bats and stuff like that, all these crazy things that 80s hair bands and rock bands did.
Yeah.
But look into Windward. I think there's a lot in this song that catch me. And like, I don't mean to bounce around, but the whole, will you halt this eclipse in me, right?
That's the main, I would say that's the cornerstone of the entire song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I almost was kind of confused at first, and maybe I still kind of am, of like what that is supposed to actually fucking mean, because an eclipse isn't necessarily a bad thing.
True. Yeah.
But you can't look at it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to look at the fucking sun to begin with.
Yeah.
So again, like, and even not to be funny, where it's like, well, okay, is this a negative thing that you halt this eclipse in me, or are you asking to halt my true feelings and like real love or something like that? Like, is the eclipse a bad thing or a good thing you have?
I think the thing that has always helped me, more specifically when we were deep into sundowning, because I think it was more so of like truly taking that moment of understanding we just went through 2 EPs that said a lot.
Right. And they were EPs.
Right. And it's that thing of like, okay, so contextually, let's think about where we are. And that's really what I've had to use with even in Arcadia, because I don't know how everybody else's listening habits have been since this album has dropped, but I used to be a Daily Eden person. I would even argue that I would say that there was like some daily sundowning, depending. It was very rare, but there was for sure daily tomb. And it's like the fact, like taking that stuff in. So with Arcadia, dude, like it's really made me forget about the rest of their music, just because I've been so soaked up into this fucking phenomenal album.
I get it, man.
And it wasn't until I think I was at the warehouse doing something the other day that I have my Bluetooth speaker that I use and stuff for it. And dude, I threw on the Apparition, and dude, I got emotional because I was like, dude, I'm like, this is what holy shit, I remember. Dude. But all that being said is that the context of where for a fact where we know that we are and where we've been is that I think that the 2 things that are very important with this album is Tomb and Eden. And the reason why is because later on in the song, just to skip ahead to give context, is that we have, now I know why I woke up here on the shoreline, coughing up blood in the twilight.
Coughing up blood,
coughing up blood, and there's we talked about even the idea of, not only by the end of Tomb is he have missing limbs, he can't even swim anymore, but now he's defenseless and he's in a chokehold. So it's like, these different ways that these albums start. Look to Windward is interesting because he's escaped the ocean. He's no longer in peril. He's not sinking anymore. He's not on the cusp of the surface, just trying to kick and trying to get out of it. Something somehow has taken Vessel and removed him from this ocean of narcissism, this ocean of despair, this ocean of, just consistent problems and the cycle and how this can, like, it always happens over and over again, is that especially the first couple of lyrics of this, is that, will you listen just as my form starts to fission?
Yeah.
Changing, it's like everything from how he loves his scientific stuff with alkaline and everything, where it's like, no man, fission, the fusing of particles, the creation of something new. So will you listen just as my form starts to fission, losing this war of attrition just as I drift away? Attrition, this is something we talked about before the podcast, but I wanted to get the definition correctly, is that attrition is the act of wearing someone down through action, through words, through physicality. And isn't it interesting that just as he's about to lose the war of attrition, he drifts away, and the only thing he can think is, will you halt this eclipse in me? It's this weird moment of the fact that it's like, I'm falling away from the thing that I know that hurts me. What am I used to? Creating darkness. I'm used to, or being around it. So it's like, no, but it's that I personally think the eclipse is a negative thing because of that.
Sure.
Again, there's many, many ways to interpret this. And guys, just because we interpret something tonight does not mean that's our final resting place.
Or that it really is that.
This is Vessel we're talking about here. Anything can happen, so, but it's interesting. That's what he's meditating on, is that it's, especially as he talks about being on the shoreline, Do
you think that's a parallel universe though for something else? Because the reason, I didn't mean to cut you off. That actually is part of what I wanted to talk about with some of this, where it's that, halt the eclipse in me, kind of like you said, like out of this ocean of like narcissism and things like this. But the fact that he follows up with the fact of, I've got eyelids heavy enough to break diamonds.
It's such a hard line, dude.
It is. And we know that we talked about like the diamonds of teeth and all this stuff, and it's pretty and all this stuff, but diamonds can only cut diamonds, and the fact of that. So the fact of it's heavier than that. And I don't know, the more I was listening to this, because of some of the lines afterwards and the rest of this album, I think that almost means, like, again, kind of falling into that depression and death, where I'm so tired of this.
He is exhausted.
You pray for sound and I pray for silence. Everybody get away from me. I want to be dead. Silence, done. Everything's over.
I want to rest. Yeah.
So you'll find me, the fact of being faithless and that you can't deny, you'll find me with half a mind to get violent.
Yeah, I'm ready to fight now over this. Yeah.
Because almost the fact of, because I'm so exhausted. When you're tired and you're irritable and you're this and that, no matter if it's just because you've stayed up too late or if you've been working all night or whatever it is, or fighting or whatever it might be. This is where I wasn't sure with in my own opinion, what the eclipse was, if it was supposed to be a negative or a positive, because if you're either halting the negative or halting the good, either way, it's not a good thing. It's just, I'm still trying to figure that out. We talked before this started, guys, we didn't talk too much about it, but I think this album personally is another cycle of this type of like lust, love, and we're good and death.
Yeah.
It's because of certain songs that go into each other as well on how this, that's another thing is I'm wondering if Vessel knew that that Windward was the first song, that Infinite Baths was the last song, that this, like, was it purposefully done that way? Probably. But even at that, if it's not, how ironic of a way for his albums and things to go. I think that also with this and other albums, when we get into more of the rap, hip hop and things like that, or even just other styles, it is the feeling of how it's like inside of you or whatever. Like you said, music is what emotion sounds like.
Yeah.
So it's like when he is in that kind of, I've got eyelids heavy, he's kind of in that like hip hop groove, but it's because he's kind of cocky.
There is a confidence, especially because when he says the half a mind to get violent, and this is where we see the depth of his violence and his, and I wouldn't necessarily say rage, but I would say that it's how we get to see how serious he is.
Do you know? And I don't
taking action and being violent. So, but yeah,
with that, and I don't mean this because I'm just gonna say it, but like, you know how like when a dork, a nerd, and anything like whatever is like, and when they think they're being hard and coming at you, like whatever, like it's almost kind of it's kind of that concept, I guess, because you're right, like because Vessel is not please, if you see this, understand what I mean, but he's not a gangster. He's not a gang member. He doesn't run the streets. So
but he can channel it.
And that is his way to be, I guess, mean, or I don't mean isn't the right word, but aggressive. Because it's almost like he doesn't know how to be fuck you type deal all the time.
Well, it's especially because I would actually even argue that,
Hope that made sense.
Well, no, it does, because I think that there's, does he not have that, gangster mentality? Sure. I agree. But I would also say that, no, man, he is just like he is justified. Especially when he says, so give me the edge of a blade and a time and a place, and I'll leave them cold and pushing up boulders.
See, this
dude.
Yeah.
Bro, like that's like, I was mad when we reacted to it and I didn't get what that meant, because I thought it was just another, like a more harder way to say pushing up daisies or like whatever. But no, dude, that's hell.
It is. And that's what I also don't know with that either, with the whole, where is it? When he says that with the fact of the edge of a blade, this is where I don't try to force everything in it, but this is where I also wonder if that has any symbolism to do with death. With the fact, tell me the time and the place, basically with that edge of a blade. Is that against somebody else, or is this for himself?
Oh no, I argue it's very much for others. Because it's because that he says I'll leave them cold and pushing, because it's the fact
I'll leave them right.
It's now, because the thing with that too is that, guys, like, if you're not familiar with Greek mythology, it's the fact of that, no, there is a version of hell that you push up a boulder for all of eternity and you never make it up the hill. That's what Vessel says he wants to do to them.
But would that be also like, in the fact of like him unaliving himself and them being alive and never understanding?
No, I personally don't take it that way, because this song is very much like this gets into the mentality of the fact that I am ready to fucking tussle.
Oh yeah,
it's got like one, that's just one of the elements of it. But in the same hand is that there's. Especially the edge of a blade too. I look at that as more so the idea of putting down the roses, picking up the sword. Sure. It's the fact that it's like, no, like now you have made me defensive. This narcissist that has done this to him. And guys, we're probably going to gloss over a lot of different theories and stuff that we've gone over. We've done many episodes before this that we've dove into their lore. So if it feels like we're going a little too fast, or if it feels like we're skipping over,
we've already done it. Probably.
We have more than covered that, that kind of thing. So we don't want to spend the whole time just giving context, like just so you know. But no, it's like very much how he's ready to defend himself and to properly, like, because he even says it later on in Dangerous when he's like, when's the last time that you tasted blood?
Okay, but see, this is where, no, I agree with you on this. That's what I'm saying. I was confused a little bit still by this song on like which way to take certain things. But see, again, to me, I think even in Arcadia and Dangerous, I don't think Dangerous is about a woman.
I have many thoughts.
So that's
what I think it could be. Yeah.
Because you, like you just said, where it was like, when's the last time you tasted blood? Like, I feel like because later on when we talk that I think the gods are the symbolism of death. Because when he talks about, we thought the gods were dying, they were just sharpening their blades. I think that to me, that's a very blatant verbiage. But
yeah.
So, but again, like that's why I said Windward was definitely one that I don't want to say completely confused me, but it was something that I wasn't sure, like I said, which way to take a lot of this stuff, because it's not that it's vague, but very to the point. And I don't know how to explain it, but like,
yeah, well, no, it's the tough thing about it is that it's for Vessel himself, he is able to write out exactly what he knows it means for himself, and I think that's what's brilliant, is because it's almost kind of like he has this and I'm careful on how I say this, but he has almost like this Naughty Dog approach to writing, of the fact that Naughty Dog is very very good at writing dialogue that gives you no context, because it's not written lazily like, hey, remember that one time at the lab, you know, or whatever, where it's like they didn't do that in Back to the Future. Naughty Dog doesn't have to do it either. You know what I mean? Like, they don't even talk about it in Back to the Future of context, but it's the fact that he gives you exactly what he gives you. You know, it's that, you know, mentality of like, okay, well, there was a fight last night. All right, well, what happened? Well, no, well, what do you think? You know, it's like, that's like the Naughty Dog approach. It's that thing of like, no, like, how do you interpret this? There was a fight. You know there was a fight, but you don't know why Joel and Tess are fighting. Sure. But you just know it's the following day. So it's just, he has that kind of approach, and especially when we get to the end of this, is that there's so much lore and things that are being said here, of that he says, you know, even in this Garden of Gardens, I am the god of the gaps. I am the demon of Sodom. I am the blood of an angel. Blood is very important for what happens later on. The fate of the fallen. Nobody knows where I came from. Even I have forgotten.
See, again,
that to me is probably one of the scarier parts of this song and of the album. He's forgotten who he is.
See, so
he's lost himself.
That's what I'm saying, is that I still think that when you lose yourself and you talk like this and you think like this, that again, there is a lot of this dark depression, death, I am worth nothing vibe that you get. And with him going through naming all of those things, where it's like these are the
only things I know about myself.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then when it's one of those, when you think something so long, you start to believe it. Mm-hmm. Or you get told something so long, you start to believe it. Mm-hmm. So
those very well could have been things that were said to him. It's like because it's like almost like a poetic way that entities would diss on each other. You know, that's like, you know, you're the god of the gaps. You're the god of nothing.
Yeah,
you know, it's like,
right.
Yeah.
But the fact of even in the Garden of Gardens, so again, and then when you talk about Arcadia, but even in Arcadia, it's like, I keep trying to figure out, I probably never will, but like what the symbolism fully is of the gods: Sleep, Garden, Eden, and Arcadia. Like there is, these are very specific things that are constantly talked about.
You know, honestly, what I think we need to do in the future is that one of us or both of us, whatever, we need to get our hands on the graphic novel.
I'm trying.
Somebody did email it to us, but I can't, in good faith, look through it for free. Like it's like, so it's one of those like, no, I want to support him.
And I don't mean like this. If somebody sent us the book,
as long as
it's a hard copy,
as long as the artists and everybody were taken care of,
but that's exactly, man, because that might actually help. I don't know if that would help with something, but this is where. When I started listening to more of Arcadia, and it being, I think, one of my favorite albums by them, is it's not to be a woe is me guys or whatever, but like it's because I think I get that feeling, and why I am harnessing certain things kind of specifically, because I had this like, moment with stuff. Now, whether I'm right.
Yeah.
But I wasn't even looking for these things or this euphemism or this whatever like things for it. Like it just happened.
Yeah.
And then when I went, okay, well, let me think of it this way, and things were coming together. Like I said, it's a lot of death. And like we've talked about these processes of these albums and like where he, I guess, maybe is.
I think that the thing to remember, and this is where because I don't want to jump too far ahead, but the way that I view this is that I actually, in my opinion, again, because I'm following just the lore, I'm following, you know, everything. I'm just like, all right, no, like guide me as a compass, like take me through the world. I think that Arcadia as a whole is more positive than it is negative. And I have reasons why, like it's like specifically through
positive
different songs.
in a great way, or positive just in the, we're back in love and lust again?
I think that it's we're gonna get there.
Because do you ever think
It's just because I would have to fast forward to some songs.
Well,
I don't want to
get
get
you.
too out of order, but yeah.
Do you think Vessel, even though we've heard the whatever, like uppity songs, right? Because I'd say 85% of the music is not uppity, not positive. But even at that, with the ones that are on there, do you think Vessel is ever happy?
I think he is. I think that,
and I don't mean a happy. I'm saying happy in general.
I would argue that I think that he is, because when you see the connection he has with his bandmates, when you see how much he.
Oh, sorry. I meant like in the lore. I'm sorry.
Oh, in the
I'm
lore.
sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay,
okay, gotcha. No, yeah. So no, in the lore, yeah, I think that there are moments. I think that
moments. Okay.
So but the thing is too is that it's like I would say that it's that Arcadia is a very honest album. It's the fact that there are very very uplifting moments where you're like, wow, like this is so like different than what we like. Arcadia has a vibe to it that none of their other albums do. And some people could say that it's like maybe, softer in some ways, emotionally, or it's this or that. Like even Caramel has like that almost music box kind of beginning. So does even an Arcadia. It's kind of dainty kind of sounding.
Dainty
kind of things,
doesn't still mean it's not hard lyrics.
Right. So to me, it's one of those that I think that there's a flavor that Arcadia has. But I think that the best way to approach like that kind of idea of like, is it more positive, is it this, is it that, is that to essentially just to finish up Windward, because it's I think Emergence is where we're going to start seeing this gray area where I think it could be either or, because there's some wordings and things. But the one thing I actually did want to talk about was that with the second part of Look to Windward, the top where it says, with shadows longer than a light year, moving so slow I could die here.
Yeah.
Say that, and this is interesting, is that let's leave the person unknown at the moment. Say you can hear me say, will you halt this eclipse in me? I think that he's at this point, he's learned not to trust sleep. I look at it that he sees it where it's like, for the most part, he has it under control of the fact of like, bitch, get away. Like, it's like he has a lot of like moments like that on this album. For me, I would think that with the desperation of which he is singing, which is so different because even it's done in video game style with that Zelda, like almost kind of it's a very different
album.
way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nerddom in this that I was very, very happy showed up. But I think that in the first portion of the song is that we have someone that is unknown who I would assign to, and you're going to see this a lot, is that I would say it's Eden. I think Eden is obviously being in the Garden of Eden, Garden of Gardens, even Arcadia. There's a lot of symbolisms and things that tie together or that could overlap. But no, it's with this one, I very much would think that it is towards Eden, because it's the mentality of just like, no, I'm not being caught in a snare again like I am in every first song. You know what I mean? Where it's like this is a very different approach where he's just like, no, like I'm not even in my cycle anymore. Where the hell am I?
Well, because it is new.
Yeah, it's the thing is it's a new cycle.
Right.
So it's and that's the genius of Arcadia.